With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
Hello, America. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program. Oh, where is it? I thought I had asked my team to grab this, and is where... Just bear with me 1 second. Did I actually? Yes. Yeah, I did. Yep. All right. This is Nancy Pelosi. I know you got to suffer through her voice with me. She's with Anderson Cooper on CNN. Listen to this exchange.
Is Vice President Kamala Harris the best running mate for this president?
He thinks so, and that's what matters. And by the way,
you think so?
She's very politically astute. I don't think people give her enough credit. She's, of course, values-based, consistent with the president's values and the rest. And people don't understand, she's politically astute. Why would she be vice president if she were not? But when she was running for attorney general in California, she had 6% in the polls. 6% in the polls. And she politically astutely made her case about why she would be good, did her politics, and became attorney general. So people shouldn't underestimate what Kamala Harris brings to the table.
But do you think she is the best running mate, though?
She's the vice president of the United States. So when people say to me, well, why isn't she doing this or that? I said, because she's the vice president.
All right. I had to play that extended clip. Now, this is Anderson Cooper with a roundtable discussion afterwards.
Well, first of all, she's not an easy interview. So I did admire, as you tried to get her to be very specific in certain answers. What stood out to me, though, certainly was her answer about Kamala Harris. First of all,
she didn't say yes.
She didn't. Well, she said it was Biden's decision. Right. And more importantly, she actually offered like a nugget of defense of Vice President Harris, which is like, she is politically astute. And if there's one thing about Nancy Pelosi, she respects wins. That's what she always brought to the caucus. That's the energy she brings to things. And she very much said, look, this person can do it. Okay, don't underestimate them. And she didn't have to say that. There's lots of people who have been kind of squirrely in their answers, and she wasn't.
I don't know about that. She didn't want to say, yeah, she's the good pick. This is all notable, and it gets to this point I was making about Fandom. But before I get further into it, though, I want to play you this audio. This is Mike Barnacle. He was on Morning Joe on MSNBC giving a defense of Joe Biden.
The President of the United States is well aware of how old he is. He knows when his birthday is. He knows how he feels. He'll be pretty honest about it. He will tell you when you get to be the age of 65 or 70, certainly 80, you get out of bed in the morning in 3 parts. You swing your legs out, then you try to get your hips out, and it happens. It happens growing up and growing old. But to your larger point about Joe Biden doing his job, he certainly does do it and has done it since he was sworn in as president. Now, there's going to be a lot of talk and a lot of concern and a lot of legitimate worry about his age as he proceeds into a campaign year. But around the world in 4 or 5 days, which he just did, from India to Hanoi to Alaska and then back to Washington. Here's what he did. He continued to build a fence to protect democracy.
So you got Barnacle in there, and Barnacle's comments have to be put into context because Joe Scarborough made big news the day before by saying something he's not supposed to say. This is what Joe Scarborough said the day before Barnacle's defense of Joe Biden.
Mika and I, everybody we talk to, every political discussion, it talks a lot about Trump, but when it comes to Joe Biden, people say, man, he's too old to run, isn't he? I mean, he's not really going to run. When I say every discussion, I don't mean 99% of the discussions. Every discussion. We got it. I asked Reverend Al if he was hearing it all the time on our show this past week. He's hearing it as well. So, we often will complain about Republicans who will say one thing about Donald Trump off the air and another on air. Well, let me just say, Democrats off the air will say Joe Biden's too old. Why is he running?
Yes, they do. I have the experience with them, too. I don't name names. These people trust me to talk to me on background about their candid thinking. And they're concerned about Joe Biden's age. They should be. And the media can circle wagons all they want, but there's clearly now beginning to be a concerted effort by members of the media to say, hey, Joe, it's time to go. Even CNN's Canadian fact checker, Daniel Dale, listen to this. This is a little bit of a lengthy clip, and there's a reason I got to play some of these clips that are a little long today. I don't normally like to play audio this long. They're all, minute 30 seconds or so. It's still longer than what I like to play, but you got to have all the context here. I don't want you to think that I'm hiding anything from you. I want you to hear it in proper context because there's a lot to comment on in the proper context. This is Daniel Dale on CNN.
He has done, I don't know if it's similar things, but he's sort of told some stories that don't line up quite like this before.
Yeah, this president has a pattern at this point of either inventing or embellishing stories about his own past, his biography. He did it 3 times in one speech last month alone. He claimed he had witnessed a bridge collapse in Pittsburgh when he actually showed up about 6 hours later. He claimed that his grandfather had died just days before he was born himself at the same hospital. In fact, his grandpa died more than a year before in a different state, not the same hospital. And he also repeated a favorite false story that I and others have debunked over and over again about a supposed conversation with an Amtrak train conductor he was friends with, who was actually deceased at the time the conversation would have had to take place. And that's not all. There are some more serious ones, in my view. Previously in his presidency, he claimed at one point he'd been arrested during a civil rights protest when, in other versions of the story, he just said an officer had taken him home from a protest. He said he had visited the Pittsburgh synagogue where worshippers were killed in a 2018 mass shooting. In fact, he had actually spoken to the rabbi, but never went. And he's made a whole bunch of others, too. He said at one point, Republicans like to bring this up, he said that he used to drive a tractor trailer, he used to drive an 18-wheeler. Never happened. The White House later clarified he used to drive a school bus at one point as a job briefly. School bus, of course, not an 18-wheeler. So whatever his intentions, whether it's foggy memory about stuff that's going on decades ago or deliberate embellishment, this is an unfortunate pattern that keeps coming up again and again with Joe Biden.
If Joe Biden had an R next to his name, they would use the word liar. Liar. Habitual, serial liar. That's what Joe Biden is. He's a liar. Joe Biden tries to tell stories to connect with people, and those stories are lies. Joe Biden has lived his life raised by the wolves of the Senate for 50 years, going back and forth on Amtrak to Washington. He's got to make up stories to connect to people. Do you know the remarkable thing about Joe Biden? At a level of intellectual honesty, Joe Biden lost his wife and a child in a fiery car wreck. Jill Biden is his second wife, and she raised his 2 sons as her own after his first wife was killed in a car wreck. She pulled out at an intersection and a tractor trailer or dump truck or something plowed into her, killed her and her daughter, Joe Biden's daughter, instantly. Joe Biden lost his son, Beau Biden, to brain cancer. He was the Attorney General of Delaware. He died of brain cancer. Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, is a drug addict, struggled with drugs and alcohol, sexual addiction. Is it odd that Joe Biden has those things in his life with which he could relate to other people, and instead he makes up stories. It's almost like, I mean, you don't want to be a psychoanalyst on this stuff, but it seems like there's just a level of guilt there with Biden, and he can't bring himself to talk about those stories because in some way he would feel like he implicates himself. So he makes up the story about how Beau Biden died, makes it a tie to the military, which isn't true. He died in Iraq, which isn't true. He doesn't talk about his own family struggles with addiction when trying to comfort fentanyl victim families. But you're not allowed to point this stuff up. It's remarkable that a fact checker on CNN said this stuff, but he couldn't say liar. He could not bring himself to say liar. If it was Donald Trump, if it was Ron DeSantis, if it was Nikki Haley, if it was Mike Pence, if it was Chris Christie, if it was Asa Hutchinson, if it was Doug Burgum, if it was Tim Scott, if it was any Republican running for president or any Republican at all, it would be liar, liar. He's a liar, liar, pants on fire, liar. But with Biden, they try to excuse it. They're trying to Mike Barnicle on MSNBC after Joe Scarborough dares to tell the truth that Democrats think he's too old to run. Mike Barnicle's like, he's 80 years old, but he gets out of bed, he puts 2 feet down, it's no big deal, he can do it, it's just he's a little sore in the morning. I'm in my mid-40s, and good Lord, my feet hurt all the time. I got a bone spur issue, but I'm still like getting up and getting at it, and it's not some impediment. I get that, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Joe Biden gets lost on stage. Joe Biden may have a stuttering problem, but the stuttering problem is not what's getting him to trip over his words and stumble over the truth into lies. It's him. But the Democrats don't want you to talk about it. They're beginning to attack progressives in the press for raising the issue of Joe Biden's age. They're circling the wagons. It's like a football fan. It's like a football fan. You're not allowed to criticize the team unless you're an ardent fan of the team, and then you're allowed to criticize the team. But if you're not the ardent, diehard, well-known fan of the team, well, then you're a traitor. You're awful. It's like Alabama fans or Georgia fans in the SEC listening to criticisms of what the team could or could not do. And, you know, the thing with the Georgia fans, which is remarkable to me, being in Georgia's, University of Georgia can beat a team by 60 points, and 3/4 of the Georgia fan base will say, I can't believe they didn't beat them by 100. They suck. They're never happy. I mean, for years of having the football snatched away from them by Nick Saban, the Georgia fans these days are like, you beat somebody by 60, should have been 100. You beat somebody 40, should have been 60. I can't believe we're not doing as good as we can. Come on, team. It really is remarkable. I feel bad for the University of Georgia players. I mean, they could beat Jesus tomorrow. And I can't believe you didn't beat Jesus by more than that. It's remarkable. And then the Alabama fans are up. Everybody is stacked against us. The refs are stacked against us. The media stacked against us. Everybody's against Nick Saban. You can't actually speak truth into fandom. And that's what it is like with Democrats right now. These people are raising the red flags. Joe, you're too old. You need to go home. And the Democratic fan base is like, don't you criticize our guy. He's going to go the distance. He's going to be the 2-time national champion against Donald Trump. Don't you question it. Meanwhile, have you seen the polls? The race is tied between Trump and Biden. The other Republicans are already ahead of Biden in the polling. There are red flags going off for the Democrats. And when any member of the press dares to say, hey, guys, we think we got a serial liar on our hands and we're not going to call him that, we're going to call him an exaggerator, and we think he's too old and we're not going to call him that, we're just thinking he's overwhelmed by the office at this point, he's more Jimmy Carter than Jimmy Carter was, well, that's treason. All sides need truth tellers, but no prophet is ever welcome in their hometown. All right. So speaking of dementia and really old people, Megyn Kelly interviewed Donald Trump, and she asked him about giving a presidential commendation to Anthony Fauci. She says, instead of firing him, you made him a star. You gave him a presidential commendation. Donald Trump actually says he doesn't really know who gave Anthony Fauci a presidential commendation. There's only one person who could have given Anthony Fauci a presidential commendation, the man who actually did it in a ceremony at the White House and gave it to him, that would be Donald Trump. What's going on here? He does use this tactic a lot where he just denies stuff he did and expects people to go along with him. I just don't know that that's going to be a sustainable tactic. And I also think that, we're going to have to. I really hope things shift because I can see where stuff is headed, and I don't think it's going to be fantastic for our side. But we'll leave that there. We got other stuff we need to talk about, including that John Kennedy, Senator Kennedy. I can't play you the audio that Senator Kennedy in a Senate hearing. He was reading from a book in an elementary school, and it was very explicit, explaining how kids can have sexual relations, like very explicitly so. It was in an elementary school library. What I find very notable is that members of the media are like, I can't believe he would read that in public in the Senate. This is not normal. Y'all, the book is in an elementary school library. He was reading from a book in an elementary school library. And the media's like, I can't believe he'd read that in public to people. And you're okay with it being an elementary school? This is the great weird disconnect of these people who are trying to be clueless on this stuff. I mean, all Kennedy did was state publicly what is available for kids in libraries, and these people had a complete meltdown. It's notable their meltdowns on this stuff. There seems to be a level of shame, except, like the porn star candidate in Virginia, where the Democrats are like, she did nothing wrong doing this with her husband online for money while the kids were asleep in the other room. There's nothing wrong with that. They sure are defensive about it all. It makes you wonder what their own polling shows when they get really defensive about these things. Well, I got a defense for you against the heat and the cold. It's the Eden Pure 360 air fan. It's a heater and a cooler. Y'all, so it's a great heater. It uses infrared heat with a powerful fan that's very quiet. It can heat up 1,000 square feet. I've actually used this last year. They sent me one. Then they had supply chain issues, which they finally gotten sorted out. But I was using it on the front porch to supplement heat in areas. You're supposed to use it inside, not outside. But the fan was great. The heat was great. It worked on the front porch for me. You can use it inside as well, and it's 98% more energy efficient than air conditioning, so it's going to save you money, and it runs whisper quiet. All you have to do to get it is go to EdenPureDeals.com. You put in the discount code ERIC360, ERICK360. You save over $25 off the lowest price listed, and you get free shipping. The Eden Pure 360, it is a heater, a space heater that's electric. You plug it in. And then it also can serve as a fan. You can use it all year long. It's the 360, but you can use it 365 days. It cools, it heats, it circulates the air. It's great. You go to EdenPureDeals.com, use the discount code ERIC360, you get $25 off the lowest price, and you get free shipping. Greetings and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. I hope you got blue skies where you are. I can hear the thunder in the studio, or that, or hammers, or somebody, or HR is like dispatching people. We don't know. Never know. Looks like lots of heavy rain outside. My goodness, be a fun drive after work. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Bill Malugin at Fox News. Let me read you this tweet he put up a little while ago. Per Customs and Border Patrol sources, yesterday alone, Border Patrol apprehended over 7,400 illegal immigrants at the southern border. And when combined with ports of entry, there were over 9,100 migrant encounters in a single day. I'm told Customs and Border Patrol released 5,000 plus immigrants yesterday with a notice to appear. As of this morning, Customs and Border Patrol has over 21,000 people in custody. Really? That's not good. Here's Ron DeSantis in an interview with, I think this is, CBS News.
You said stone cold dead. And when you said that, that made me think this is more than a Border Patrol issue.
It is. And yeah, I'm going to have the military at the border 100%. I mean, if they're trying to break through the wall, we will have deadly force authorized to be able to stop that. I mean, if
to shoot migrants coming across the border.
Cartel members, I mean, you have to identify them as being hostile. I mean, if there's a woman with a baby, they're not a cartel member. There's not going to be authorization to just shoot somebody like that. But when somebody's got a backpack on and they're breaking through the wall, you know that that's hostile intent, and you have every right to take action under those circumstances. And if you guess what, you do that a few times. The times are a-changing. They will have to respond to that.
I'm going to come back to this. There's breaking news happening right now. Hunter Biden has just been indicted by federal authorities on 3 counts tied to the purchase and possession of a gun while using narcotics. This is actually a big deal. Need to transition to this. Breaking news happening right now. Hunter Biden has been indicted on gun charges, setting the state for this prosecution as his dad runs for office. This is notable because they were going to go lightly on the gun charges at first, if you will recall. They were essentially going to ignore the fact that he was on drugs while he bought this gun. They weren't going to prosecute him on it. He's now been indicted by special counsel David Weiss. This is going to be, of course, a political issue as well. This is a charge. It's kind of funny. It's kind of notable that the judge rejected that deal. And then the Biden team tried to argue, the Hunter Biden team tried to argue, no, we still have a deal. And then they said, we don't have a deal. And then they came back and said, no, actually, we want the deal. We want the deal. And the U.S. attorney was like, nope, you rejected the deal. We're not going back to the deal. And now he is going to be prosecuted for this. And listen, there's not really, we've got his cell phone videos. We've got his laptop. We know he was using crack cocaine around this time, and we know that his girlfriend or sister-in-law or whoever he was having an affair, I can't remember all the details of who he was sleeping with at the time, but tossed the gun for him, and then he blamed illegal aliens. They're going to prosecute him now. He should have taken the deal. By the way, there is more evidence from whistleblowers at the IRS who were writing contemporaneous notes. So this is important, and you need to understand this. If you go out and you write notes in your diary about things that happened in the past, they are not considered under evidence standards to be all that reliable. However, if you're writing your diary the day of the events and you're writing down what actually happened that day, that tends to be considered reliable. So your diary account of something that happened last month is not considered as reliable in court as your diary writing down what happened that day. Your contemporaneous accounts, if you're writing notes after a meeting, they're considered really reliable. So if you go to a meeting and you see something and then you go back to your office, you write down notes of the contemporaneous account, that's pretty reliable. And we now have the contemporaneous accounts, the notes taken by the IRS whistleblower showing that David Weiss at the time was venting that he was being hamstrung by other U.S. attorneys and the Department of Justice. They were not allowing him to pursue the case with gusto because he wasn't a special counsel. Now he is, and now they can come after this. So breaking news happening right now. Hunter Biden has now been formally indicted by the special prosecutor on federal firearms charges. Going to be interesting. We'll see if Jack Smith indicts Donald Trump for something else later today to distract from it. All right. Now back to DeSantis. I've been talking about this issue for a while, and there's some new data out there. This is from National Public Radio. Fentanyl mixed with cocaine or meth is driving the fourth wave in the overdose crisis. The mixture of stimulants like cocaine and meth with highly potent synthetic opioids is a fast-growing driver of fatal overdoses in the United States. Since 2010, overdoses involving both stimulants and fentanyl have increased 50-fold and now account for 32% of U.S. overdoses in 2021 and nearly 35,000 deaths. We're now seeing that the use of fentanyl together with stimulants is rapidly becoming the dominant force in the U.S. overdose crisis, says Joseph Friedman, the lead author of the study and a researcher at UCLA's David Geffen School of Medicine. Fentanyl has ushered in a polysubstance overdose crisis, meaning that people are mixing fentanyl with other drugs like stimulants, but also countless other synthetic substances. The study authors call the rise in the polysubstance overdoses a fourth wave of the opioid crisis. The first was characterized by the rise in prescription opioids in the early 2000s. The second by heroin's rise starting around 2010. The third, the fentanyl crisis of 2013. Not only that, but a lot of the drugs, the Narcan and other drugs that are used to help stop a lot of these opioid-related and synthetic opioid-related overdoses, they're not good. They don't work well with current fentanyl. Y'all, this goes back to the empathy issue with Joe Biden. Your son was a crack addict. You try to make up stories to be empathetic to Americans. How many people could be helped if you did a better job securing the border, Mr. President? There are very few people listening right now who have not in some way been touched by drug overdoses among friends or family, the family of friends, kids who have gotten addicted, kids who've overdosed. I have a friend who struggled with a drug addiction. He was addicted to prescription painkillers. He's fine. He's in recovery. But I was talking to him about this. He did other illicit substances as well. Tried cocaine. Big pothead for a while. And he was just talking about how the drugs of choice today are more potent than when he was an addict. And not only that, the drugs of choice today are very often laced with fentanyl. So there's a growing body of evidence that high-dose marijuana is actually addictive, that the joints that your pothead parents or grandparents smoked in the 60s and 70s maybe weren't necessarily addictive, but the potent strength now is. But more importantly, a lot of the drug dealers of America who are selling marijuana illegally are lacing the marijuana with fentanyl because you get addicted. The fentanyl makes the marijuana addictive because you're not actually addicted to the weed, you're addicted to the fentanyl that's in the marijuana. You keep going back to the dealer for more of the marijuana, and you don't know that you're addicted. You don't think marijuana is addictive, and it's laced with fentanyl. There is a growing body of evidence that the higher doses of marijuana now actually are addictive. But a lot of the weed from the drug dealers available on social media and the like that you buy, it's laced with fentanyl. And there are people overdosing. In my neck of the woods, 5 different people died smoking marijuana. 5 people all they did was smoke weed. They rolled a joint. And they died because the weed was laced with fentanyl. And it was too much and they died. How many people could be saved if Joe Biden just secured the border? Again, from Bill Malugin yesterday, had 9,000 illegal immigrants. There are 21,000 currently detained at the Texas border in one location from just the past week. How many of our kids and our friends' kids and our friends themselves could be spared. This is the thing that actually, this is the one that gets me. This is the thing that like I'm dumbfounded by. What is your policy choice here? What is it that tells the Biden administration to look at this situation, say do nothing, pretend it's A-okay, say it's fine? This is Secretary Mayorkas.
I would say the following. First and foremost, we're dealing with a broken immigration system, a fact about which everyone agrees. It is one of the rare things about which there's unanimity of views, and we need Congress to act, number one. Number two, within that broken immigration system, we are challenged by an unprecedented level of displacement in the Western Hemisphere of historic proportions. We have responded with a model approach that has proven to work, which is to build lawful pathways for individuals to arrive in a safe and orderly way.
But they're not doing it. They're not doing it, and they're bringing the fentanyl into the country, the cartels. Yeah, and you're attacking Ron DeSantis for pointing out we're going to have to start shooting the bad guys. And you got to be, we can't shoot people at the border. Well, can we not discern? We don't shoot the child and the mom, but we shoot the drug dealer. This is a war on Americans, and they're winning. They are winning, and this administration is letting it happen. When do we shake things up and say the current policies are not working? When do we decide to do something different? This is the most mind-boggling thing to me. Mind-boggling. What is the policy? Is it just we want all the illegals to come so that we can have a new class of Democratic voter? Okay, that I guess maybe, but the fentanyl as well. You can bring immigrants into this country, illegal immigrants, and try to give them amnesty, and you can still keep out the drug dealers, and you're not keeping out the drug dealers. Do you want Americans to die? Is this part of your green plan? We just want a bunch of American deaths, overdose to save the planet, but that's something you can't say politely. Is that what it is? Maybe that's what I don't know. But the fact that they're not committed to stopping it, it could be your friend's kid. It's happening to more and more people. And they don't seem to be invested in securing the border. This stuff isn't coming here legally. It's coming here illegally across the border. It's not being made here. It's being made there. And they're not doing anything to stop it. They claim they are, and they're not. And you know they're not because it's a growing epidemic. This man, this president, has no empathy. His son, he cares about his son and his son's addiction, but he sure as heck doesn't care about your friend's son's addiction. Doesn't want to do anything to stop that. That's a problem. Before I get out of here, our newest advertiser is Stamps.com, and this is great because I use Stamps.com. I know about the product. So I send, as we gain affiliates, I send them. I've got a nice little cup and some golf balls, and I send them. And I do it all on Stamps.com. And I can get carrier discounts. In fact, you can get up to 84% off post office and UPS rates and automatically find the cheapest and fastest shipping options. You get access to the post office and UPS services you need from your computer, your mobile device, day or night. No lines, no traffic, no waiting. I can arrange pickup at my house, or I can just go to the little UPS store and drop stuff off, or go to the post office and drop stuff off. I got a little thermal printer. I can print the labels. You can print it off on paper. You can tape it to it. Stamps.com will even send you a free digital scale to measure stuff out right. It's so easy to use. With holidays coming, you're shipping packages, your business is shipping stuff. Stamps.com makes it easy. You sign up today with code ERIC, E-R-I-C-K. Special offer includes a 4-week trial, free postage, and a free digital scale. You have no long-term commitments. You have no contract to sign. All you do is go to Stamps.com. You click the microphone. You enter code ERIC, E-R-I-C-K. Stamps.com can make your shipping of packages so easy. I use it myself. I have for a long time. I'm so delighted to have them. And you save big. Stamps.com, click on the microphone, put in Eric, E-R-I-C-K. Hello there, it is Eric Erickson here. So listen up, those of you on hold, if you will be patient with me, I will get into the next hour and start your calls, but I have limited time here to get to what I want to talk about and then also do what I got to do in this segment. And I need to tell you, a federal judge has enjoined the governor of New Mexico She is not able to enforce her no-gun decree. Not only that, the Attorney General in New Mexico, not a Republican, by the way, the Attorney General in New Mexico issued a letter to the governor and said, I can't help you and I can't defend this. It's unconstitutional. So you had the local police chief in Albuquerque, New Mexico, tell the governor of New Mexico, I can't enforce your no-gun order. And you had the sheriff of the county say, I can't do it. Now you've had the attorney general say, I can't do it. And now a federal judge says, you don't have this power. You can't suspend a constitutional right, you, the governor. Now, the politics of this are, as you know, what she really wanted is she wanted to do something knowing she didn't have the power to do it and then have everybody else tell her she can't do it. So she looks like the hero to the gun grabbers and everybody else looks like the bad guy. It doesn't matter. The law doesn't matter. The Constitution doesn't matter. The media is playing all this up about Mitt Romney's criticisms of the GOP and their lack of fealty to the Constitution. The Democrats are exactly behaving the same way, and the media, of course, has completely ignored the Democrats' lack of faith to the Constitution. They just want to focus on bashing the GOP, which is that's my job. I am one. I get to criticize my own side. The media is on the left. They should shut up. Focus on the Democrats, but they don't.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woo-hooer, a hand clapper, a high-fiver? I kind of like the high-five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses, so don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.